Leisa Gill, a franchise owner of BNI. BNI is Business Network International, and I have a franchise that is from Balimba to Toowoomba.
There are other competing networking groups. Why BNI?
I'm no good on the books. I'm no good doing social media. I'm no good at doing the day-to-day emails. Outsource all that and make money at what you're good at.
It's not that you don't have time. It's just that you lack priorities. Networking was what made my business so successful in the last 2 years. And I owe like 80% credit to BNI.
Hey everyone, welcome to Pivot to Thrive podcast. This is your ultimate destination to elevate your mindset, marketing, and sales strategies for ultimate business growth. I'm your host, Dr. Priya, and I'm here to inspire and guide you on your journey to financial independence. My mission in life is very simple: to empower entrepreneurs like you with simple, actionable insights and easy to implement strategies that will transform your online business into a thriving success. Now, here's the deal. If your current strategy in life or business isn't working, don't quit. Just pivot. And it's important you understand that the goal for pivoting life and business isn't just to adapt and survive, but to truly thrive in growth, success, and abundance. So, in this podcast, we'll dive deep into the mindset shifts you need to break free from cultural barriers and embrace your true potential. We'll discuss cutting-edge marketing and sales techniques that you can apply to your business right away. Together, we'll create a powerful belief system that'll guide you towards the life you truly desire. So, grab a cup of coffee or even a fancy glass of wine, and let's start pivoting towards the success you've always dreamed of.
Welcome, Leisa, to Pivot to Thrive podcast. I'm super excited to interview you. I don't do a lot of interview style, but I do pick and choose people. And you're one that I wanted to have since December last year. Here we are. We found the time. So I've known you for almost 18 months now. So before I can introduce my version of you, for people who don't know who is Leisa Gill, can you give your quick spill about Leisa Gill?
Thanks, Priya. Thank you for having me on your podcast. So Leisa Gill, a franchise owner of BNI. BNI is Business Network International, and I have a franchise that is from Balimba to Toowoomba, and I've been involved with BNI for 18 years.
18 years. How did you start with BNI?
So I used to own a beautiful little 70s cafe in Paddington, Brisbane called Pandemonium, and there was a BNI chapter that met across the road, and I got invited along. I didn't join straight away. I went back and had another go and joined as the caterer in that chapter. And two things I really loved about it. One was it started at 7 and finished at 8:30. So I knew what was going on. And the other thing is that I love the core value of giver's gain. So I went, if this organization has that as a core value, it must be all right. And so I stayed in as the caterer for 7 years back then.
Okay, after having two businesses, why did you choose BNI as your business?
Because when I was in school, I would get in trouble all the time for talking. And now I have a business that I actually earn money talk. And really seriously, Priya, is I am so passionate about helping small to medium enterprise. And this organization helps them, supports them. And it's an organization that you get to help other people build their business. So if Australian people supported SMEs every day, we would have such a wonderful economy that's, long-term sustainable.
There are other competing networking groups. Why BNI?
Because it's been around for 39 years. We're in 76 countries. One of our core values is traditions and innovations. So we've stuck with the traditions, but we also innovate. The week after COVID hit, BNI Global had 76 countries on professional Zoom packages with their PowerPoints ready to go. So an organization that big, back-end support of supporting each other, it was a no-brainer for me. I could have tried to go out on my own, but if you're in the best organization and it works, why would you do that?
Exactly. What's your best giver's gain story you've got in your personal life?
In my personal life, gain story. Can that be the best referral I received?
Yeah, that can, yeah.
Well, the best referral I received was I had a Greek lady in my chapter, and my Greek dad left when I was born. And I put his name on a piece of paper and I gave it to her. And I said, do you reckon anyone in your world knows this person? Anyway, she came back to me and she said, yeah, he actually goes to our Greek church. And then the following week she came back and she said, my husband's the pastor there and he actually knows him. Anyway, long story short, I was 38 at the time, and the priest brought him to my cafe to meet me. And I got to meet my dad, who I found through BNI as a BNI referral.
Oh my God, that's such an incredible story. I remember you mentioning this in one of our meetings, and I listened to that entire podcast. So I'll leave the description to that podcast for listeners who want to listen more and know the entire story on how Leisa Gill found her dad through BNI. That should be your best referral, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think many people have the story to say about givers gain.
No, and referrals, look, I get referrals, givers gain, all the time. That is what I live and breathe for every day. The amount of stories that you hear. One of the best givers gain stories I heard recently was a solar gentleman in one of the chapters. And someone had put up on Facebook a story about they had just come out of hospital. They were desperately looking for someone to help their air conditioner, and none of the people were getting back to them. This member reached out to this person. It was in that really hot time in January, and went and fixed it for free because we just wanted to pay it forward. And that to me is every chapter, every person that you hear all the time.
Exactly. I think for me personally, Leisa, when my business was completely online, I wanted my business to be real. I wanted to feel real. And I reached out. I was trying to reach out to so many BNI franchisees in Brisbane, and you are the only one who got back to me.
That's good, but not good.
I know. So I think I reached out to 3 or 4 regions, and I had a meeting with one person. And I think your energy and passion, I could feel it. Like, this is not just me on your face, but I've told this to multiple people, even when you were not there, that you do business with people because you can feel their passion. You really understand that they stand with their values and you want to do business with them. So thank you. If I had not met you, I don't think my business would be where I am today. So I owe a lot to BNI, and I'm a big testimonial to BNI. Anytime anyone wants to talk about it, I'm like, I believe in BNI. It really, really works. Now, interestingly, there are few people who call it a cult and who says, I don't have time for BNI, but my personal take is they are busy now because of BNI. Do you get that a lot every day?
I do. And I was listening to an Audible book, and they said cult is part of the word culture, and people get scared of a great culture. And I really love that. And so I run with that. And I figure people can call us whatever they want, but if it's making you money, what's bad about it, right? Of course, we're not a cult. And if BNI has made you so successful that you're running out of time, that's a great problem to have, but let us help you scale up. The amount of people I have seen that are scaled up through BNI, that room is full of supporters that actually want to help you. So let them help you. Get the bookkeeper in to do your books, get the accountant to be doing that, get your marketing, outsource your marketing to yourself. How much do you value your time? Because the best time you can make is by being your business, right? This is what I'm best at doing, talking about my business. I'm no good on the books. I'm no good doing social media. I'm no good at doing the day-to-day emails. Outsource all that and make money at what you're good at. So if you haven't got time for BNI, I think it's very short-sighted. And that makes me sad because I want, and if that's as big as you want your business to get, then maybe BNI is not for you anymore. But if you want your business to get bigger, grow with it.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's not that you don't have time. It's just that you lack priorities. If this is not your priority, then it's not for you. I completely agree with you. So I think one challenge I find, because we meet maybe every week with 27, 30 members every week. For you, it's like every week you will meet like hundreds of people. I personally think the challenge would be dealing with multiple personalities, multiple scenarios, unique challenges. What is your challenge, good, bad, and ugly, about dealing with multiple people?
That's a great question. Fortunately, maybe I don't have children. So I have 4 dogs, and I come home to my husband and 4 dogs, and I'm not dealing with those personalities. But yes, I can honestly tell you that 2 people I approached once and said, that BNI purchase would be great for you. They came back to me a short time later and said, no, I don't want to deal with the personalities. So I think that you need to be authentic, right? Listen, be authentic, and treat each person like individual. Because if you come to me with your problem, it's not the same as anybody else's problem. And what's really big for you right now, I might go, well, that's not really big, but it's big for you. So we need to treat each individual issue that arises as it comes along. Now, I do live on a beautiful, peaceful property. And as soon as I drive up to that gate, I feel like all of that just goes. And then if I have my office on my property, but if I'm in my office and I need a break, I actually mow the lawn. I get on the mower, a mower, and I have to debrief, right? So I have been very good, probably only the last year, Priya, of not taking all that on board and just going, that's not mine. I like the saying, not my circus, not my monkeys. But not that you'd say that to somebody, but you could think that to yourself and go, wow, that's really huge. I'm so glad that's not my circus and my monkeys. But then just bringing it back and going, what's real for me?
So what shifted last year?
Of my move probably to my property, but also a lot more self-awareness of everyone's working on themselves, mindfulness and all of those sorts of things. And I think it was just really stopping and going, hang on, this isn't mine. Hang on, this isn't mine, right? Keep repeating it until then it becomes a habit. This isn't mine, right? But of course, I still want to keep that emotion, empathy. I don't want to ever lose that.
Yeah. But I think as an empath myself, I struggle to maintain boundaries. But I believe those healthy boundaries are essential as part of self-care.
Well, I think we just spoke before we went on air about people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I think that to me is part of that with the boundaries as well, Priya, is that going, okay, well, yeah, I'm much better at keeping my boundaries. And a few issues that have arisen, situations have arisen, have gone, actually, I'm not okay with that. And then you deal with it and you go, oh, I don't know if I should have dealt with it like that. And then the next one comes along and you go, oh, I'm okay with that. And then the more you stand up for what you believe and what your own values are, I think it makes it easier.
Cool. Yeah. I think it's hard to understand for people who haven't been through that personal development journey, like we discussed before. I think because people are in the different stages of their personal development journey and how they perceive you and your judgments and your perspective is very different. And you have to be okay with that. I think that'll be, for me, I'm like, how does Leisa do this every day? When there's different energy in the room, different people with different personality, we have to just accept that's how it is. We're putting 30 different people from 30 different backgrounds, 30 different journeys in one room and striving towards one common outcome to grow our business. It is going to be challenging.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just laugh, Priya, and sometimes you just laugh.
I know, just breathe, laugh and let go. Yeah. So networking being your core of your business, Leisa, and most of the listeners are business owners who might be networking, but I believe they don't get most out of their networking. So if you had to give them 3 sharp, quick tips on how to maximize their time and efforts in getting the most out of their networking, what would that be?
Only 3, Priya.
Okay, so, go for 10. Go for 10.
So the first one is make sure it's effective. So I remember the days when after I had the cafe, I became a mortgage broker before I bought BNI, and I networked everywhere. But unless you're going to make it effective networking, it's never going to work. So I would go to, it's business card shuffle. Hello, here, take my card. Hopefully somebody called me, and then nothing, and you wonder why. Or you don't go to the same networking event for another month and go, oh, hi, Priya, remember me? So I think it's very important that it's effective. The second thing is be outside your comfort zone. So actually, my husband and I would go to these networking events and we would walk in the door and split. He knows what I do and I knew what he did. So we didn't need to be stuck together. Stuck together was our comfort zone. Be outside your comfort zone. People would say to him, who are you here with? And he'd say, my wife. She's over there somewhere. Because if someone wanted to talk about cars, I knew what he did. If someone wanted to talk about banks, he knew what I did. So get outside your comfort zone. The third one that people underestimate, I think, is a saying that I'm famous for is the way you do small things is the way you do all things. Now, this is in so many areas. How have you turned up today? Did you dress to that networking event like your biggest client was in the room? I think that's really important. What words are coming out of your mouth? I had a one-to-one with somebody one time and they swore 110 times because once I started, I just started tallying because I thought it was, I had to make it funny. But I was like, I can't refer to that person because I'm assuming that's how he's going to talk to my client. And then are you on time? Because if you're not on time, are you going to turn up for my clients on time? So small things, all things. And I think the way people talk to each other. So if I was listening to all those problems in a BNI room or with all the personalities I deal with, and I go, Priya, I don't really have time for you right now, and run off. Well, is that the way I'm going to treat your client when they need something in a hurry or they want way you do small things and the way you do all things? People just don't think about that often enough, in my opinion, right? It's like a beautician. You go to a beautician and she hasn't got makeup on. It's like going to a hairdresser and they haven't done their hair. So that to me is probably number one, but I brought it up as number three, but that's okay. And don't give them your tattiest business card you found in your handbag or your wallet. So those probably, I think that was three, wasn't it? Small things, all things encapsulates a lot of them.
Yeah, definitely. I've written them as 5 points. Effective networking, inconsistent networking, because what you said is right. The power of BNI is the weekly networking structure. You meet every week in front of them. You're reminded of what they do. You build that relationship. It takes time, but that weekly networking really, really helps. So I'm going to keep it as a separate point, inconsistent. And third, I've got be outside your comfort zone. And fourth is where you do small things, obviously, is how you do big things. And also about the behavior stuff, we can split it as a fifth point, how you talk to each other, how you make that judgment. That's how it reflects on you. And even giving the some shrunken business card from your handbag, people are going to judge you on that. So yeah, so I'm going to keep it as 5 points. You're welcome to add another 5 if you want. I'm sure you've got a lot to talk about networking. That's what you do every day.
I do. I love your point about BNI's weekly, because often we'll get people who say, oh, it's boring, it's weekly. Well, that's actually just about visibility, because we need to be reminded all the time. And often people who don't have that consistency, you forget about them. It's like the saying, a squeaky wheel. That's what you need to be in BNI. And if you're not there and a visitor shows up or somebody else comes into the room, what business are you missing out on? And those words that day could be the words that lead to your $1 million referral. I think what part of the networking is around education. And with BNI, we give a lot of education. So when you're networking, I have another tip, is 2 ears, 1 mouth, and use them in that proportion. The amount of times you go to a networking event and they talk at you and at you and at you. And I'm like, and they'll think it's the best conversation they've had. You haven't had a chance to say anything. And I would probably say, if I haven't seen it, heard it, done it, tried it, read the book, seen the movie, I was at a networking event where a gentleman proceeded to run his hand up and down my back while he was talking to me. Not okay, right? Ladies, don't go to a networking event with a long V-neck and no bra. Because the way I want you to show up is if the person with the $1 million referral or Richard Branson was in the room, how would you dress that day?
Correct.
Hey listeners, before we jump back into today's episode, I want to tell you about an incredible opportunity that's perfect for those of you who are always asking these questions yourself. How can I earn more money? How do I get more customers without spending on ads and fancy funnels? How can I generate recurring income without selling all the time? How do I create wealth without trading time for money? How can I transition from being a one-person show to mastering delegation? If this sounds like you, then you're going to love our sponsors for this episode, the Pivot Mastermind, a life-changing 6-month intensive experience designed to help you launch and scale your digital empire. But that's not all. One of the standout features of this mastermind is that each attendee gets a dedicated virtual assistant to handle the admin and social media marketing tasks. That means you can focus on what truly matters, growing your business and enjoying the freedom that comes with it. Don't wait any longer. Click on the link in the show notes to apply today and take the first step towards transforming your business and your life with the Pivot Mastermind. Now let's get back to today's episode.
Do you get that? I went to a networking event, not BNI, to be very, very honest, not BNI, but a very old, drunk white man. I went and said hello, and he told me, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "That's why I'm here." And he said, "If you don't know me, don't come and talk to me." So I got that, and I was like, "Oh my God." And then I knew it's not just me. That's how, every woman in the room was treated. So do you get something similar? Like, do you feel there is a gender disparity when it comes to networking? Let's not go about the discrimination, dark skin, white skin, but in general, let's talk women in business. Have you had any personal experience like this where you feel you're in a room with men and you've had that discrimination or difference in treatment?
Maybe in the early days, Priya. I think I hold my own these days. And I was at a networking event where an older gentleman said, "Oh, BNI doesn't work for my industry." And he had a networking franchise which was conveyancing lawyers. And I started debating with him, and I said, "Actually, I don't think BNI is for you, and I wish you all the best." And I walked away. So not necessarily man, woman. And I believe if you believe in what you do, you need to own that space in a networking group anyway. And it's not okay. It's not okay to be talked down to. It's not okay for people to have a go at you because of being in that room. My husband and I were at a networking event one time, and a familiar person to John was in the room, and he said, "You need to tell your wife to dye that grey strip because it's pretty ugly." And John went, "I don't think we belong here." And we walked out.
Yeah.
So attacking someone personally is not okay. So I think that more discrimination, I don't find it in BNI. However, I heard someone say to me once, like attracts like. So I would like to think that as we're growing our region, which is Brisbane, Southwest and Toowoomba, that if I'm helping lead that growth with other members and leaders around me, that if like attracts like, that's not something that we have to come up against. And if we do, there's a zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Bullying, discrimination, sex, racist, any of that.
Yeah, I know that. We've got even committee to resolve conflicts. We've got different leadership teams to do that. So now that we're speaking about the general Brisbane, BNI Brisbane, Southwest and Toowoomba, can we get some numbers, Leisa? How many regions do you own? How many members are there? And a rough thank you for close business in the past rolling 12 months. Sorry to put you on the spot if numbers are...
That's okay. So we go from Bulimba to Toowoomba. We have around 340 members in that region across 14 chapters. And in the last rolling 12 months, we closed over $20 million in thank you for closed business. So that is business being passed between our members, turned into dollars, money in the bank, over 20 million in a rolling 6 months for 300.
That's just in your region.
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. I know our chapter, we've hit 1.7 million in the last rolling 12 months. So that's amazing. But 20 million, that is really, really great. So I always look at USP. Why should your competitor buy from you compared to your other competitors? So I know that you've been on multiple podcasts. You do a lot of speaking events. So for someone to entice someone to listen to this podcast, I want something that you've not given to anybody. So I want one story that no one knows about Leisa Gill, so they can listen to this podcast and be like, okay, this is not something that I know about Leisa Gill.
So
I know you'll have something.
Well, I'm going to give you two because if once people have heard one, they haven't heard the other and vice versa. So actually, when I was 18, I became allergic to crustaceans. So actually, my throat started swelling at 18 and I had to carry an EpiPen for the next 15 years. And I actually had it treated naturally through a clinic in Ashgrove, all naturally, that now I can eat crustaceans and not carry an EpiPen. Took about 2 years, but through acupuncture, kinesiology, tapping, all the natural stuff you can think of, I did that for about 2 years and a bit of bioresonance. And now I can actually sit down to a meal of that seafood.
Enjoy seafood.
Yeah.
That's
That's not a
amazing.
story I tell very often. And the other one is, of course, my grey streak. So most people assume that I've had it dyed, and they, for some reason, they want to ask me. You can seriously, anyone listening to the podcast, you can ask me anything. I would say, if I don't want to tell you, I'll tell you I don't want to tell you, but I'm a pretty open book. So when I was 29, I'd been in a relationship for 4 years and we owned a house, and then he was an alcoholic, and one day I walked out after all the usual stuff leading up to that, walked away from my house, walked away from everything. And I had a girlfriend who says, "You're not going to walk away from everything. Let's go back and get your stuff." And I just said, send him a message, legal letter, said, "Get my name off the house. I'm out." And then this grey streak grew. So that was 23 years ago. Now, 23 years ago, it wasn't trendy. The girls I used to work with would give me hair dye for Christmas and go, "It's ugly. You need to dye it." And then now I get stopped by people in the street saying, "Your hair's really cool. It just grows in this one patch. And the rest of my hair's quite grey. So my hairdresser keeps it out and dyes the rest. And I keep my grey streak," which is kind of now my signature, I suppose.
Yeah, I thought it was part of your personal brand.
It is, of course. Yes. Priya is my personal brand.
Exactly. Like the red blazer, the BNI, and the grey streak is basically Leisa Gill's personal brand. That's how I see it. And you've made it look very stylish, Leisa. Trust me. I think I've mentioned that to you. Like, greys have never looked better on anyone like this. Like, so there is a story behind it, and you own that story, and it is such a powerful message, right? It doesn't have to be ugly, or you don't have to hide your past or the journey you've been through. It is a very, very powerful message.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing. I'm pretty sure people will be excited to hear this segment, basically, what no one knows about Leisa Gill. So for people starting out, I think networking was what made my business so successful in the last 2 years. And I owe like 80% credit to BNI, I would say, because even now, 40% of my revenue comes from BNI. That's not even an exaggeration. So for people who have been in BNI, what is one piece of advice you would say to them to maximize their membership?
Follow the system. That's it. Follow the system. This system
3 words.
developed over 39 years. There's a reason it works. And if you're struggling to follow the system, I have never, ever said no for a one-to-one.
Yeah.
So you might not get in for a couple of weeks. But last week, in case you missed it, I did 20 one-to-ones for International Networking Week. But on average, a month, I do 20 one-to-ones with my members. So if you're struggling maximizing it, reach out, but come for honest feedback. Don't come for fluff and feathers. My nickname's the Velvet Sledgehammer, because I don't think I'm doing any favors to say, yes, everything's fine when it's not. I want my members to be there for a long time, right? If I don't have members, I don't have a business. So you need to be successful for me to be successful.
I know you don't sugarcoat your advice. I've had your advice before.
Yeah.
When I joined, and I think that one-to-one really helped, because I was a hot mess. I was doing too many things, and you were like, "This is great, but we need to focus on one thing. You have to be known for that one thing." So that one-to-one really helped me get clarity on my messaging. And over the past 18 months, I think I've become very, very crystal clear and niche down. So thanks to you. So that tough love coaching actually helps. So if people haven't had a one-to-one with Leisa, if you're in BNI, I would highly recommend you to have one. So for people outside of BNI, and if they don't have the mindset to think that BNI is an investment, not an expense, I think we don't have to invest our time in coaching them through that. But is there any piece of advice you want to give to them who believe that it's not for them, or they don't have the money to invest in BNI yet? What is one piece of advice you'll help them to get something out of this podcast?
Yeah, I'd like to give one piece of advice to people who've been in BNI before, and maybe you are not there anymore. I'd love you to revisit it and see if it's, I believe we've gotten better, we're bigger. I'm totally passionate about bringing heart to our region. So if you've been there, tried it, try again, because the people change all the time, or the one you visited, maybe try a different one. And for those that aren't in BNI and don't want BNI for now, surround yourself with positive, uplifting people who want you to succeed. And if you've got all mates that are not self-employed, then get some mates that are in self-employed. So when I met my husband, I had never been self-employed before. And he tells this story about he was self-employed. He had to go to a job when we had a date booked. And I'm like, well, don't go to the job. We've got a date. And he's like, but Leisa, this is my business. I have to go. And it was total different mindset for me because I'd never been self-employed. My immediate family wasn't self-employed. So I was like, oh, he's going to cancel my date to work. If you're not surrounded by people who understand being in business, surround yourself with some people that understand about being in business.
That's a very powerful message. And it came at the right time. This morning, I saw Richard Branson's post on Instagram that he went bike riding and he fell down and injured. And so he put up a post saying, the brave don't live longer, but people who are cautious don't live at all. So that was such a powerful message, especially, I come from a family where they want that secure paycheck. So I put my story today saying, come from a family. My father was like this. He wanted to live paycheck to paycheck. He hated me for being in business, but that was not me. And people asking for random relationship advice on Facebook from random strangers. One mantra I think I go by these days, never get advice from people who don't live the life what you want to live.
Nice.
So if they don't have that life, don't go for the advice. So like people who are not in business will never understand the issues and challenges that you go through. So that's
absolutely.
A powerful one.
And you also reminded me, Priya, is in the last week, I thought to myself, I don't live in the hole. And what I mean by that is if you come across something and it's bad, dog dies, somebody dies, you lose something that was valuable, don't live in that hole. You acknowledge it and wallow for a minute. My mum used to say, once the candle's burnt, that's done, right? And then move on. I just don't want to live in that hole. I don't want my life to be there. Life is so much fun. There is so many amazing things going on around us. Don't live there. Move forward. And that whole saying about the front of the front car window is bigger than the rearview mirror. Use that proportion in your lifestyle. I love that.
Yeah, you got me thinking about a lot of things, but we can just keep going on and on and on. I think this shows in the past 20, 30 years in your business, running two successful business and now owning a franchise is not an easy task. It's not one business. I would say if you're dealing with 14 franchises, it's like 14 different businesses dealing with multiple personalities. Like you said, the members have to get their best return on investment for them to continue on. And that's how you keep continuing your business. So if you've done it so long, Leisa, you've done it really, really well. Thank you so much. I'm super proud and happy to be under BNI Brisbane, Southwest and Toowoomba under your leadership because I think it flows from the top, though you might have challenges down, but I think you manage it really, really well. Because sometimes I say to people, like, Leisa knows everything, what happens when she's coming here for a silent visit. She knows it. So it's not an easy task. It's not an easy business to have, but obviously who wants to have things easy, isn't it?
That's why you got to love what you do, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And people, whoever meets you, I'm sure they can feel that passion for what you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I'm sure networking is it's a very, very key component for growing businesses, especially post-COVID 2024. I feel like people are back in business. They're like, I want to do things. Do you feel that difference in energy in 2024?
Absolutely. Yes. I think this will be a really great year for business, SMEs, small medium enterprises and BNI. And I believe that if BNI members need to embrace that, right? Use the system. BNI people want to do business with BNI people. So if you're listening to this and you're not in BNI, use your networks. Don't be afraid to ask. Have the support of those people around you.
Yeah. And I've told this multiple times. I believe in BNI. I paid BNI 20 months up front because I believed in the system. I just had to find my right nest or my BNI home. But the system works. If you make it works for you. People don't understand that. They whinge and complain about chapters and members. I'm like, it's a system you have to tap into. It's a whole network. It's a global network. I've tapped into contacts in the US. I have referred contacts in India. So I've tapped into the global contact. But people think it's just about the 25, 30 members in the room. It's not.
Dr. Ivan Meisner, the founder, says it's not net sitting or net eating, it's networking. You have to work at your network, right? So you can sit back and wait for it to come to you and not have a business, or you can get in there and make it work for you.
Yeah, like how we all have made it work. I hope people who are listening will understand the power of networking, will understand the power of BNI and how it has helped millions of people around the globe with the proven system, which has been around for almost 40 years. We can say 40 years, 39 years, almost there. Thank you so much, Leisa, for your time. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you,
And I'll
Priya.
leave links to Leisa's region and socials in the link below. I'm pretty sure her VA is active across all social media platforms. So if you want to get in touch with Leisa, book a one-to-one, please use the contacts in the show notes to get in touch with Leisa. And if you're part of BNI, please reach out for a one-to-one. Thank you, Leisa. Thank you so much for your time.
Always great to talk to you, Priya. Thank you.
Thank you, Leisa.
I truly hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed creating it just for you. Please follow Pivot to Thrive podcast on the platform you're listening to right now. It would mean the world to me if you could leave a review, and I'm so excited to see you on the next episode. Sending you loads of love, positive and healing vibes your way. Stay blessed.